You know those roads you drive down all the time? The ones that just feel old. They've got weird curves that don't make sense anymore, and they're lined with this wild mix of historic houses and brand new convenience stores. Well, what if those layers of pavement could peel back and tell us their story? Today, that's exactly what we're going to do, with one road in Warwick, Rhode Island, Post Road. And that's really the big question here, isn't it? If this stretch of asphalt could actually speak, man, the stories it would tell. We're talking centuries of history, a tale that starts with a simple footpath and moves through stagecoaches, revolutions, and the unstoppable march of progress. So let's lean in and listen. So here's the journey in a nutshell. It all started as an ancient trail, the Pequot Path. Then it became the super important colonial post road. And finally, it turned into the US Route 1 that people drive on today. 3 completely different eras, 3 different names, but all on the exact same ribbon of land. All right, let's rewind, all the way back. Before there was pavement, before colonists ever showed up, before the word road even meant anything here, there was a path. Now, this wasn't just some random trail through the woods. The Pequot Path was, for all intents and purposes, the main highway of its time. It was the critical link, the only real way for people and news to get from Providence down to southern Rhode Island. You could almost think of it as the I-95 of the 1600s, just, for people on foot or horseback. And here's where it gets really human. See, a long journey back then was tough, exhausting work. So a simple freshwater spring wasn't just a nice little feature. It was a lifesaver. It was like a natural rest stop, a critical piece of infrastructure that made the whole trip possible. And this one particular spring, well, it has a story. This quote, wow, it just brings this history right down to earth. That's Roger Williams, the founder of Rhode Island, standing at this very spring. He wrote this in a letter after his friend Elizabeth Winthrop, who was married to the governor of Connecticut, had passed away. He was remembering all the times they had stopped there together, and in that moment of grief, he gave the place its name, Elizabeth Spring. He literally tied a deeply personal memory right into the landscape. Okay, so let's fast forward a bit. As English settlements started popping up and growing, that old, informal Pequot Path just wasn't cutting it anymore. It needed an upgrade. It was about to be formalized, widened, and turned into the absolute backbone of a new colony. So this is huge. The road's job just exploded. It wasn't just for a few travelers anymore. This was now the official route for the colonial mail system, which is where the name Post Road comes from. It was for stagecoaches packed with people and goods. Suddenly, it was the colony's information superhighway and its main commercial pipeline, all rolled into one. And of course, wherever people are moving, business pops up. Taverns and inns, like this one, the Carter Tavern, started appearing all along the road to serve that constant flow of travelers. And these places weren't just for sleeping. They were the epicenters of news, gossip, and business deals. This tavern, built way back in 1740, became a major landmark. And it didn't stop there. The pattern just kept repeating itself with places like the Nelson Slocum House. More taverns, more blacksmiths, more shops. You could literally see a village taking shape, and its entire form, its whole layout, was dictated by the path of this one road. It was the economic spine of the whole community. And it wasn't just about business. Having a house on Post Road, that was a big deal. It was a status symbol. The most prominent citizens, guys like Christopher Rhodes, who was a brigadier general, built these incredible homes right there on the main drag. The road had officially become the civic, commercial, and residential heart of war. So as things started heating up with Great Britain, this vital civilian road was about to get drafted into military service. The Post Road didn't just sit on the sidelines and watch the American Revolution happen. It played a really active role. You can't overstate how important this road was during the war. It was a key supply line for the Continental Army, connecting the inland farms and workshops to the critical ports. It even saw the march of defeated enemies. After that huge turning point at the Battle of Saratoga, the surrendered British troops were marched right down this road. And it's also deeply tied to one of the war's greatest heroes, General Nathaniel Greene, who was born right nearby. For more than 200 years, the road changed pretty gradually. But then, in the 20th century, one single invention came along and changed its character more drastically and more quickly than anything that had come before it: the automobile. And what's just wild is how fast everything changed. Take the village of Apponaug, this historic little center on Post Road. It used to be this beautiful, picturesque place. Narrow, tree-lined streets, you get the idea. But cars needed wider roads, so the trees came down. Old buildings were knocked over, and what replaced them was described as a visually chaotic mix. That charming village was basically sacrificed for the efficiency of the automobile. This quote from the historical records, it just says it all. Deleterious changes. Think about that wording. That's not an accident. It perfectly captures that sense of loss people felt as they watched the historic character of their town get literally paved over to make room for gas stations and strip malls. It's that classic, painful conflict between preserving the past and pushing for progress. And then you have this year, 1961. This is a huge turning point. That's when the modern terminal for the state airport opened, right on Post Road. This completely sealed the deal on the road's 20th century identity. It wasn't a footpath anymore. It wasn't a colonial highway. It was now the main gateway to the age of air travel, a primary artery connecting Rhode Island to the rest of the country and the world. So, after all that evolution and revolution and change, what is Post Road today? Well, the thing is, it's not just one thing. It's a collection of all its past lives, kind of layered right on top of each other. And here's the key takeaway. The history hasn't been erased. It's just been built around. The road is like a living document. You can still see the gentle, old curves of the original Pequot Path in some places. You can drive right past those colonial-era taverns. And then, a minute later, pull into a modern airport. It's all there, on the same road. And look, this picture says it all, doesn't it? On the one hand, you have the Carter Tavern, standing strong since 1740. And then, all around it, you have the symbols of the 21st century. This one view perfectly captures that tension, that strange coexistence that defines Post Road today. It's a physical timeline you can literally see with your own eyes. So why does the story of one road in a small state matter? Because it proves that history isn't just locked away in museums. It's right there in the curve of the road you take to work, in that old house sitting next to the new gas station. It tells us about the really hard choices communities have to make between honoring their past and building for their future. And it's a powerful reminder that the past, well, it's never really gone. It's always right there, just under the surface. So I'll leave you with this thought. The next time you're driving down some street you've been on 1,000 times, maybe look a little closer. Ask yourself, what was this place before? What stories are hiding here? Right in plain sight, just waiting for someone to notice.